I am no contact with most of my family because they refuse to respect my boundaries and tried to force me to be involved with their kids when I said no. The one exception is my brother, and recently I gave my nephew a gift that made the rest of the family threaten to cut off my nephew out of greed unless I give the same gift to his cousin too. Posted by you/favorite nephew 11. This is a burner account and all names are fake. I, 39F, am very much not a kid person. I can tolerate them in small doses, but I also find them uninteresting/annoying and don't want any of my own. I'm well aware that some find my child unfriendliness off-putting and can strategically fake it until I make it most of the time. I just prefer to avoid situations/relationships where I'm expected to interact with kids, but when I can't, I radiate don't talk to me energy to deter them and will try to pawn them off/redirect them and escape. I had the good fortune to be the baby of the family during my generation, but as my siblings and cousins started having kids, they resented me for being a deadbeat aunt, as one cousin put it. They kept pushing me to be involved with their kids, and I eventually snapped and told them how I felt about kids in general. Afterward, I was slowly iced out socially. I stopped trying when I was hospitalized and only one person even bothered to visit or call. The one exception was my brother Michael, 43M. He never questioned or undermined my decision. He was that one sole visitor when I was hospitalized. He never tried to force his son Adam, 18M, upon me, nor did he resent that I didn't take a serious interest in Adam until he was 14. Even when he was in the trenches in regard to parenting, he still made time to call or text, if sporadically. In the present, Adam is the only niece/nephew that I care about. Yes, his cousins did not receive a fair opportunity to bond with me. Yes, I'm playing favorites. I've set up a 10K college fund, I take him out for experiences monthly, and I've given him some pricey gifts, while his cousins get zilch. Yes, this has caused friction in the past, but I've always been happy to be the bad guy. I try to be discreet. Adam has been instructed to attribute the gifts to his father and not me, and I did not tell him about the college fund until a month ago. My latest gift, however, has led to a major fallout. I live in a desirable location in a major city, while Michael and Adam live nearby. Adam was recently accepted to his dream school in said city, but it's out of his budget. I offered to let him live rent-free with me, which would allow him to commute. My house is much closer to campus, and thus afford it. The issue is my other nephew, Alex, was also accepted into that school, and it's also his dream school. Alex comes from a disadvantaged background, while Adam is middle class. Alex won a partial scholarship to said school, but it's still not enough. When he heard about my offer to Adam, he asked, using Adam as an intermediary, to be included. I refused. I've nothing against Alex, but I also haven't talked to him for 15 years, not that we were ever close, and we simply don't have an emotional connection. It would also come at a massive opportunity cost. I rent out my spare bedrooms, and I lose $38K in rental income. Yes, this is well below market rate, over 4 years. Most of my relatives are now up in arms. They've given the ultimatum that either 1, I extend my offer to Alex as well, 2, I rescind my offer, or 3, Adam rejects my offer, or they will go no contact with Adam and Michael. They're calling Adam the golden child, he's an only child, say that Alex deserves my help far more, and are tired of my favoritism. They're not wrong about my favoritism, but honestly, I don't give a crap about my ex-family. Though I never blocked them or had a big fallout, we've been effectively no contact. I value chosen family over people who happen to share my DNA, and we've both made choices that demoted them to the latter category. I'm also of the opinion that aunts and uncles are entitled to have preferences. Furthermore, I don't see what makes Alex more deserving. He certainly needs the help more, but that's not my tab to pay. Adam is in a more complicated situation. Michael is willing to support whatever Adam chooses and refuses to pressure him. Adam and Alex aren't close, but accepting my offer would mean giving up many other familial bonds that Adam does value. Rejecting it means Adam giving up on his dream school. I do feel bad that my offer is forcing Adam to choose. Edit, I can't believe that I have to say this explicitly, but I don't hate kids. They're just not my cup of tea. You can not like something and not want to throw it into a trash compactor. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. If the rest of the family is willing to cut Adam out of their lives because of the op's actions, I think that says a lot about the family. Would they have been upset if Adam received a housing stipend? Would he have had to turn it down? Op, I think you made the right choice to go no contact/low contact with most of your family. They are truly jerks for threatening Adam over your actions. Commenter 2. Everyone is entitled to live their lives the way they want. You decided not to engage with your siblings' kids because it doesn't suit you. Michael accepted that about you and kept in touch anyway. Your other siblings didn't accept your boundaries and, as a result, shifted themselves and their families out of your life. That was their decision, How they saw fit to live their lives because of your boundaries. Now that you've made a generous offer to the sibling who respected your boundaries, the others are up in arms. You're not the jerk. That's just how boundaries work, even if family members want to pretend that families shouldn't have boundaries because, family. I feel for Adam, though. I hope he makes the decision that is best for him and his future, but I do think he has a lot of anger and animosity coming his way. Good luck to you all. Update 2 days later. I saw a few questions in my last post that I wanted to address. Why not try to form a bond with Alex now? He comes across as a gold digger and disingenuous, seeing as he was perfectly happy being distant from me when there was nothing to gain. Why distance yourself for Alex's parents' sins? I didn't. I just don't have a reason to try to form a bond with him, just like I don't have a reason to connect with the cashier at my local grocery store. Many people who didn't meet by circumstance meet because of a social lubricant that brings them together. Aunt/nephew ties are facilitated by said aunt's ties to the child's parent/wider family, and those ties do not exist in this case. A relationship with Alex might also be a liability if our relatives try to weaponize it in some way, and given that they already tried with Adam. I'll pass. Why didn't you put your bio family on an information diet? I did. Unfortunately, I suspect that Adam slipped up during his excitement at being given the chance to attend his dream school after thinking he couldn't. I've always stressed the importance of secrecy, but up to this point, he's never experienced conditional love, and in his naivety, believed the best from his relatives. It's a lesson I wish he'd learned in a different manner, but what's done is done. I did see the suggestion about claiming that I have a long-term lease on my other rooms, but that probably wouldn't work. My relatives would likely demand that I try to break the lease, taking on the penalties, or that Alex and Adam share a room. Could you compromise? Is there a win-win solution for both Adam and Alex? Maybe let them share a room? Perhaps, but you never negotiate with bullies, it sends the wrong message. Also, it would be incredibly awkward and tense between Alex and me, never mind Alex and Adam, who would be living in the same room. Why not just rent out the room and send Adam the proceeds so he can get a room elsewhere? My rates are well below market value, and it would not cover the cost of a room elsewhere in the area for Adam. I could raise the price to market value, but then I'd have to explain to potential tenants why they're being charged so much more than the tenant I already have. I also don't want to raise my rates on principle. I don't like that landlord/private equity are intentionally squeezing the housing market. The only reason I'm renting out my rooms is because they'd be sitting empty otherwise, and offering them cheaply was a compromise between pragmatism and my values. I actually would have preferred a smaller place, but there weren't any smaller houses that ticked off my non-negotiable requirements. You've no right to feel hurt over being abandoned in the hospital. You pushed them away. As acknowledged in my post, everyone made decisions that contributed to me going no contact. I was disinterested in the center of their world, and they couldn't accept me as I was. And while I certainly self-selected out of kid-centric events, I repeatedly tried to reach out to arrange kid-free hangouts. Heck, I would have been okay with occasional text/phone calls. That was literally the only way Michael and I stayed in touch until Adam was 7. And the hospital incident didn't hurt me so much as it was the final nail that ended any hope of reconciliation. I was well aware that our relationship was fraying well before the incident. Update. As for the actual updates, Michael, his wife, and I were gearing up to have a talk with Adam to discuss his options, go over the pros and cons and long-term effects, reaffirm our support, and nudge him in the right direction. It turns out we didn't need to, though not for the reason we'd like. Adam called me yesterday, clearly upset. Apparently, his cousins have been talking smack behind his back, saying some really nasty and cruel things and targeting some of his deepest insecurities. Even if he wanted to make peace with Alex, it wouldn't be possible now. I still think it would be beneficial to have the talk with him, though, if only to help process his feelings. It isn't all doom and gloom, though. A friend of a friend is apparently an interviewer for a job that one of the nasty cousins has applied for and asked about a week ago if I knew them. We look similar and have an unusual family name, and had any tea. No, I was not listed as a reference. I didn't know the cousin well enough to comment back then, but now? Guess who's gonna get a call and a warning not to hire that cousin due to bad character? Did I also mention that said job is in a small industry with typically only one employer per area? Yes, I'm a petty queen and I own it. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. So basically, the cousins are as bad as, if not worse than, their parents. It sounds to me like the only relatives who don't have to worry about being screwed over by others are you, Adam, and his dad. The rest are stuck with the other self-serving jerks. Commenter 2. Still not the jerk. It's a shame Alex and the other cousins haven't escaped the conditioning of their parents and remain petty, backstabbing, entitled Emotional Parasites with Aspirations of Being Gold Diggers. Adam now has an incentive to get as far from the family crab bucket as humanly possible. It's a painful lesson, but one better learned now, when he's got a whole life of freedom ahead of him, before they can truly exploit him. You're a good aunt. Also, it's not petty, it's karma. If the cousin will happily talk crap behind a loved one's back, they sure as hell won't hesitate to spread harmful rumors through the workplace or resort to emotional blackmail to get what they want, given the morals of the relatives they're closest to. You're being a good Samaritan, warning that interviewer against hiring someone far too immature for a grown-up workplace. Second update 5 days later. I thought it was implied that Adam was accepting my offer and staying with me for college, but yes, he is. Michael, his wife, and I had the conversation with Adam to help him process what his cousins did. We assured him that nothing that happened was his fault. He's still sad but seems to be doing better. Speaking of my plans, I did make the call to the said acquaintance about my cousin. They mentioned that said cousin had been neck and neck with their competition and that there was one final, inconveniently timed, for the acquaintance, interview. They outright thanked me for giving them an excuse to cancel. The petty beach in me also decided to look up nearby similar jobs and found that, unlike the one I just blocked the cousin from, they were not unionized, likely mismanaged, and paid considerably less. The cherry on top is that when I told Adam, he seemed really happy and added that the site for the job the cousin just lost was a 10-minute commute. His mom scolded me for being childish, but her face said otherwise. Unless something unexpected happens, I expect that this will be the final update.